Gang has a couple that he's going to talk about. Music and movies, the M&Ms. Mine is sharks and cooking. So, One Man Gang, take it away.
I mean, with me, it started, really with my mother. My father was never overindulgent in anything that I can really remember, But
Except pool.
Except pool, yes, yes. And my mom was a big music person. Like, she had a bunch of records, man. And there was a bunch of diversity in the records too. That's why I've never musically been allowed to be put in a box. Sometimes people look at you and assume, hey, you should be listening to hip hop and R&B, which hip hop is my favorite music. However,
genre, yeah.
My mom had rock and roll records. Hall and Oates was a big group with me when I was coming up. My mom had a 38 Special record when I was younger. Hold On Loosely, So I've always had a wide range of genres I listen to as far as music's concerned, but hip hop was the biggest one.
Are there any genres that you
don't like? Absolutely. Country music, can't really stand it.
So there's two different. I think there's maybe two different kinds of country. There's the twangy back road country, and then there's the more upbeatish country.
I think for me personally, you can
just either
keep both of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't mind country music at all. I actually, my favorite band of all time is Hootie and the Blowfish.
Jason.
Darius Rucker.
Sir Blanco, what's up, bro?
Darius Rucker has, I think, 3-4 country albums.
Didn't he do an R&B album?
He has one R&B album. He did an R&B album. He did a Christmas album. He did like 4 country albums. I believe I actually own all 4 of those. And then Hootie and the Blowfish, obviously. I think at one point I had every single album, all that stuff. Me and my daughter just went and saw Hootie and the Blowfish last summer live.
James, what's going on, bro?
At Hershey Park.
Lori Dawson, what's going on? Cousin Suki, how you doing?
This dude doing shout outs like it's, it's a rap show.
They showing me love, I gotta show them love back.
Definitely, appreciate everybody's support.
Yeah, but as far as hip hop concerned, my sister kind of crafted that a little bit. My sister would record videos back in the day. And we had tapes and tapes of videos, and that really resonated with me. As far as hip hop is concerned, I mean, from the first time I heard it, I was consumed by it. You know what I mean? Like, I can't, but I know Run DMC was the first big group that caught on to me. Like, Run DMC could do no wrong for me back in the day. To me back then, it didn't seem like there was as many bad records as it is now. Everything coming out pretty much was like, oh, I can dig this, I can dig that, or what have you. One thing I did want to talk about, because it's interesting, every time you talk about a subject, there's always a top 5, top 10 list or what have you.
I would think with you, hip hop would be a hard way to go, trying to name 5 songs that are your favorite.
Well, I got 10 albums that I can say are my top 10. But the problem with this is...
Here's one.
Leo, what's going on, bro?
Here's a question for you then.
Yeah.
You can only bring one album
that's easy.
On a deserted island to listen to for the rest of your life.
Hip-hop album or one album altogether?
One album altogether.
That's easy, too. It wouldn't be a hip-hop album, which probably is surprising. It would be Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. It was a double album he made. I think that is...
I was trying to cheat and get a double album.
That's pretty much the most perfect album I think I've ever heard, ever. That's just a great piece of work. I Wish was on there.
You Are the Sunshine of My Life. Is that on there?
I don't think that's on that one, but I Wish is on there. Which, if you remember the stupid song Will Smith made, "The Wild Wild West,"
yeah,
that's that beat from "I Wish" by Stevie Wonder. He had a lot of hits on there. Isn't She Lovely, I believe, is on there. Black Man, Sir Duke is on there. As, which, you've probably heard as and just don't know the title of it.
Yeah,
But
I'm not big on title.
that song was on that movie, The Best Man. If you ever seen The Best Man before, okay. Just pretty much you can play the album through without fast forwarding anything.
Which you had to fast forward back in the day. Well, on a needle, you would
skip
skip
it.
it.
I should have said. I'm sorry. See, that's how old I am.
Yeah, most people don't even know what a record player is.
Lori said, Mark, you didn't mention Tommy from the Who. No, that's not one of the greatest albums, but it was a very entertaining musical / movie that they made. But that's funny you brought that up, Lori.
The Who. I have a song from The Who on my gym playlist.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
But see, that's how wide, like, anybody on here can mention something, and it's not much music you can get past me. I mean, there is some, obviously, but it's not much. But I do have a top 10 of my favorite albums. Like I said, Songs in the Key of Life would be the greatest album, period. But as far as hip-hop is concerned, I do have a top 10 list. And just want to share it with y'all real quick. So, the number one album to me, or maybe I'll go... the first album to me is the best rap album of all time. The rest of them are just ordered, no
Right.
particular number. But the greatest album to me of all time, till this day, and I don't think it'll ever change for me, is It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back by Public Enemy.
Well, you will definitely get Booker's support on that.
Well,
Book chimes in. Book will say, yep.
You got to think about the time surrounding that. Basically...
Like 91, 89, 90?
It was 89, if I'm not mistaken. Or it might have been... Actually, it was 88, because 89 was when Fight the Power came out, which wasn't on that album. That was like a soundtrack. And then it came on their next album, which was Fear of a Black Planet.
Yeah.
However, the reason why It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back is, to me, the greatest album of all time. You got to think about the subject material Chuck D was talking about. Nobody back then was either not brave enough or just didn't think to talk about the things that Chuck were talking about. They got a song called Don't Believe the Hype where they were accused of being anti-Semitic or what have you. And basically them saying don't believe the hype is don't believe what all these writers are writing or saying about us. You know what I mean? Make your own opinion. Just a bunch of different things that they talked about on the album, which was kind of taboo at the time. Matter of fact, they used to play Public Enemy's music without the lyrics a lot of times on the radio. Another thing was that the Bomb Squad. A lot of people, I think, undervalue the Bomb Squad as a production team. The Bomb Squad was basically... they were kind of like the first RZA to me in a sense, because the RZA had all these samples that sounded weird, or where did he get the sample from? That's what the Bomb Squad was, and they would layer so many samples on top of samples that it just sounded crazy. The Dust Brothers was kind of like that. They did the Beastie Boys second album, which was Paul's Boutique. It was a whole bunch of layered sounds or what have you. Another album that's great, moving on from that album, and these are in no particular order. I would say Raekwon's Only Built for Cuban Links is one of the greatest albums I ever heard hip-hop wise. Once again, had a different sound. The RZA at that time was on top of his game, and he could do no wrong at that time. Liquid Swords by the GZA. There's going to be a lot of Wu-Tang stuff in here. Liquid Swords by the GZA, same thing. The GZA is one of my favorite MCs of all time. All right, Supreme Clientele by Ghostface. Enter the 36 Chambers. And yes, James, America's Most Wanted is on here. That album changed my life.
That had America, KKK.
Yeah, 3 Ks, yep.
Yeah.
America's Most Wanted changed my life because at the time, I knew Ice Cube was a monster from NWA, but this album, I just didn't expect it to be what it was. And once again, the Bomb Squad actually helped produce that album.
So were you on Ice Cube's side or NWA
I was
side?
Always on Ice Cube's side.
I was opposite.
Were you?
Yeah.
No.
I was always an NWA. Always like to this day, that Niggas for Life is probably, if I had to take a hip hop album, that's the one I would take.
I was actually mad at NWA at the time because they dissed Ice Cube. So I was, they made the Benedict Arnold song, and I'm like, nah, you can't diss Cube. In my mind. Because at that time, Cube changed my life. There's albums like, when you talk about Nation of a Million, it changed my life. this was the first time I actually really started listening to lyrics. And I'm like, yo, I like what they're saying. You know, before it's like it got a good beat to it, vibe to it. You ain't really care what they was talking about, you know, being young.
Right.
This, I was like, wow, I really hear what they're saying. Then
But
America's
America's Most Wanted was later on. So.
Yeah, America's Most Wanted was, I think, 2 years later. But even still, you know, I didn't expect Ice Cube to come the way he did. I expected it to be more of an NWA album where it was somewhere between NWA and Public Enemy. I hate to say that. You know, it had a little consciousness to it. The next album I have on here is J. Rue the Damager's Wrath of the Math.
I remember the one song. I never listened to the album, but I do remember that. What's the most popular?
The one he had a song called "You're Playing Yourself" off of that album.
You're playing yourself.
Yeah, DJ Premier is absolutely my favorite producer, bar none, out of anybody. Period. Dr. Dre's a great producer. He has nothing on DJ Premier, in my opinion. The RZA is a great producer. Has nothing on DJ Premier. DJ Premier consistently, in my mind, has been the best producer. So him and J. Rue, this was J. Rue's second album, and the first album was good. The second album just it did something to me.
And not to be confused with Ja Rule. J. Rue is a completely different thing. If you've only heard of Ja Rule, this is not the same thing. This is J. Rue the Damager is way different.
And if you get Ja Rule and J. Rue the Damager mixed up, you know.
I mean, it's probably somebody that, you know, Fast and Furious, Ja Rule's, and that they've heard of him.
Yeah.
It's not too many people outside of, you know, outside of regular circles have heard of J. Rue the Damager. Like I said, I used to listen to it all the time, and I've only heard the one song, so.
Right. So J. Rue the Damager, Wrath of the Math. Premier, I believe, did the whole album, which was a treat for me in itself. The next album I have on here is The Roots, the album called Things Fall Apart. Now, The Roots had been out for a while when this album came out. I think this was the first album they went platinum on, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, they won a Grammy for the song You Got Me, featuring Erykah Badu. The Roots had an album before this that was phenomenal too, called Illadelph Half-Life. This was, I think, technically their fourth album, but most people knew it as the third because their first album, Organics, a lot of people didn't catch on to it. Matter of fact, I found out about their first album later on too. Things Fall Apart, just, you know, Black Thought lyrically is really underrated, even though a lot of people do consider him maybe one of the best MCs out there. Very underrated. Very lyrical. He proved it in the song, you know, no pun intended. The song was called Super Lyrical, featuring him and Big Pun. And, you know, personally, I think his verse was better than Pun's. A lot of people love Big Pun. He's a great rapper, but I thought Black Thought had the better verse.
The anniversary of his passing was just a couple days ago as well. So,
yeah. So that was a great album by The Roots. I don't think there's one song on there I didn't like. You know, once again, I appreciate albums you don't have to skip or fast forward, you know, or put the needle later on, depending on what your format is, or MP3, you know. But you know, that was a great album. My next album is going to be Gangstar's Moment of Truth. Gangstar, once again, probably one of the most consistent groups out there, along with EPMD. EPMD was one of my favorite groups too.
Gangstar on my gym playlist too.
Yeah, Moment of Truth though happened to just, in my opinion,
is that Mass Appeal? Mass Appeal on that one?
No, that was the one before. That was Hard to Earn. The popular song, well, You Know My Steez was a single off of there. Royalty, the song they did with Casey and JoJo. Once again, I really didn't have to skip anything. But what really impressed me about this album, they had a song called Above the Clouds. And on the song, it featured Inspector Deck. On the song, it sounded like a RZA beat to me. And this was Premier did the whole album, but it sounded like a RZA beat to me. And I was kind of amazed because Premier has kind of a sound where a lot of people don't have to see the credits to be like, hey, DJ Premier did that.
Right.
And this was kind of a beat that was on a different format or what have you. And, you know, I love that song. It's my favorite song off the album. And number 10, and once again, this wasn't in any particular order. Number 10, Harv, what's going on, bro? Hey, D Harv, amazing rapper out of Delaware. Amazing. I met this guy. We did a show together. I went on first. I think he came to the show after I performed. And I had been hearing this song of his called East Coastin'. Mm-hmm. Okay. I saw him and I knew it was him. I said, "Yo, you Dave Hard, right?" He was like, "Yeah." I said, "Listen, man, I heard this song by you. You know, I really love it." He was like, "Boy, have you heard any other songs?" I'm like, "Nah." And he gave me a CD. I was like, "How much you want for this?" He was like, "Nah, you ain't gotta give me nothing for it." Went home, took the CD home. Amazing, amazing CD. So what's up, Harv? Hopefully you got something new coming out soon, or I might have missed something or what have you. But shout out to him. Number 10, Nas Illmatic. A lot of people recognize this as the greatest rap album ever. It's phenomenal. Once again, like I said, A Nation of Millions to me is the greatest album of all time. But Illmatic, once again, a breath of fresh air at the time it came out. I think this was 91, 92 or something like that.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah. And matter of fact, my boy James, who's on here, you know, I think I heard it the first time he had the tape. Or one of my homeboys had it. And I was just impressed throughout. I mean, just the sound of it. You know, he had a multitude of producers on there. Matter of fact, a lot of people give him credit for being one of the first cats, because what they used to do, you would have like the same person do the whole album or do a couple beats, and then, you know, maybe 2 or 3 producers at most. You know, he had DJ Premier on there, Large Professor, Q-Tip, LES, Pete Rock, and everybody... As far as the production sound, everybody did a phenomenal job on it. Nas, you know, if you don't know who Nas is, he's one of the best lyricists out there, you know. And, you know, just that combination, man, is a great album. Matter of fact, it was so great that people want him to work with the same producers again and make another Illmatic, which I think he had a line on one of his things. He said, they hoping I'm making another Illmatic, but it's forward. I'm moving never backwards, dummy. So, you know, Nas has never made, I don't think, another album as good as that, even though he has made other good albums. But Illmatic is definitely the pinnacle of his work, in my opinion.
Well, you can tell it's a passion of yours, because just listening to you go into producers and beats and all that, that's not something that a normal person would know about. I think maybe James said something on your live about you can definitely tell a primo beat or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was never huge on music. I grew up with I think I talked about it before. My mom was a musician. She went to Juilliard. She taught violin, viola, cello, all that stuff. So
yeah, she had a lot of blood in the crowd.
Yeah, so she had a lot of classical albums, and I remember we weren't allowed to listen to anything like that. I remember my brother, my older brother, I do remember the first song. It was Cool in the Gang, Celebration, I think. She broke that record.
Oh, wow.
She also broke, I'll never forget this, I had the LP, or maybe it was the smaller one, whatever the smaller one was, had C is for Cookie. I do not know why, because I was not really, really young. I was maybe 10, 11. And I would just play C is for Cookie over and over. And I remember her coming in the bedroom and smashing C is for Cookie, that record. But yeah, I wasn't allowed to listen to that type of stuff. I had to go to a friend's house to listen to anything that wasn't classical music. My dad was heavy into jazz, still is, but my dad, his Pandora, you get in the car with him, it's all jazz. So I did listen to a lot of jazz. Not really a big fan of it, but you know, I can stomach it. But as far as hip hop albums, I don't really have albums, but when I had Pandora, I have NWA, Tribe Called Quest, EPMD, obviously Public Enemy.
Right.
What else do I have? I have a lot of Hootie and Blowfish on Pandora too, but yeah, the hip hop albums. I'm more of a individual songs type of person than I am the whole album. But yeah, I mean, I listen to it mainly like in the gym, not necessarily for pleasure in the car. If it's a long car ride, I'm either listening to Hootie and the Blowfish, or if you ever have, like driving to Altoona, for example, my favorite place, Altoona, is 4.5 hours. Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin is the best driving music ever for me, at least in my opinion. Man, I have Led Zeppelin greatest hits, put that CD in, and best driving music ever. And I will air drum I'll air drum or air guitar while it's just Led Zeppelin is my driving music.
Well, Led Zeppelin is one of my favorite rock groups. So, you ever heard of Rush?
Yes.
Yeah, Rush is one of my favorite. Actually, Rush is my favorite rock band.
I have Rush on my gym playlist too.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, you mentioned EPMD, man. EPMD was one of my favorite groups coming up. I mean, I think I can sing every one of their songs without trouble.
I didn't listen. Again, I was like an individual song person. So I Shot the Sheriff was repeated. You know, that's
strictly business.
Yeah. So that, but now that it's on my Pandora, it plays different songs, and there's a whole lot of other songs, and I don't know the names of them, but I do have them, liked on Pandora, so they'll frequently pop up.
Yeah. James, I like Kenny Loggins too, bro.
That shit. I told you, Kenny. Top Gun soundtrack, shit, Footloose soundtrack.
He did the.
He was in We Are the World.
He did the Caddyshack song. I'm all right.
I can listen to We Are the World and tell you every single person that was in there. I remember my brother had the album, and it had like a shadow of all the artists on the back, and each artist had a number, and it told you who they were down there. And for some reason, I do not know why I memorized it, but I did.
You know who had a album cover something like that was Common, the rapper Common. He had an album called Electric Circus. And on the cover, he had the people on there, but on the back or on the inside sleeve, it told you who everybody was.
Yeah.
Tribe had an album like that, but it didn't tell you who they were. Midnight Marauders.
Yep.
There's a bunch of people with headphones on, which was an album that James had mentioned on here as we was talking. And Midnight Marauders is a great albm, but this was my top 10 list.
My son Carter loves Tribe. He was wearing a Tribe sweatshirt yesterday at his sister's parties.
Tribe's a great
loves
group.
Tribe.
I mean,
loves
great group.
He loves Fife. Fife is like his favorite rapper.
Fife was my favorite out of two. I know a lot of people like Q-Tip. I like Q-Tip too, man. His voice at times would get on my nerves a little bit, man.
It's nasally.
Yeah, you know.
He has a little bit of a nasally thing going on. But yeah, I love Tribe.
Yeah.
Got a lot of Tribe Called Quest, like Excursions, all that type of stuff.
Electric Relaxation is a great song. Bugging Out is one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, Bugging Out.
We Got the Jazz. Check the Rhyme. I mean, to me, the Low End
Scenario was on there.
Yep. The Low End Theory album to me, and this, I might get some hate for this. The Low End Theory album to me was better than Midnight Marauders to me. I know that's going to make a lot of people mad, but it just resonated with me more than Midnight Marauders. Midnight Marauders is a great album, no doubt.
I mean, I thought they were all great. Yeah, except for the ones I think later on. I think they try to do one without Fife.
No, they did one with Fife,
but it was kind of near.
It came out after he died. I like it. It's, what is it called? Thank You for Your Service. We Got It From Here, I think is the name of the album. I like the album. A lot of people complained about it. It was a fun album to me, so I liked it. They have had some albums. The one, I forget the name of it. I think it was called something about Love Theory or something. The Love Theory. I didn't like that album all that much. It had a couple songs I liked, but, you know, it is what it is, man. You can't just keep, eventually you run out of the magic. You know what I mean? Like
it's rare that everyone is a winner.
Right.
You put out that many albums, you're going chance. law of averages. You might have
Yeah.
one that isn't as great as.
But the point is, you put enough good music out there that your legacy can't be tarnished.
Nah.
You can be like, oh, that one wasn't great, but you'll never talk about Tribe in a negative sense musically. And if you do, you need to get out and you don't listen to hip hop.
Right, yeah.